My son Michael placed the nursing home brochure on my kitchen table, the same table where I'd fed him for 18 years, and said, "Dad, it's time. Sarah and I need our space." I was 72 years old, sitting in the house I'd built with my bare hands, and my own blood was evicting me. What he didn't know was that I'd been recording every conversation for the past 6 months. Before we continue with what happened next, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. The brochure had pictures of smiling seniors playing cards, but I could see past the marketing. This was a warehouse for the unwanted. Michael's fingers drummed on the table, the same nervous habit he'd had since childhood when he was lying. "It's for your own good, Dad. You're getting forgetful. Last week you left the stove on." I hadn't left anything on. Sarah had been in my kitchen that morning making tea. She'd left the burner on low, then called Michael in a panic about my dangerous behavior. I knew because I'd installed cameras in my own home 3 months earlier, but I said nothing. Sometimes silence teaches you more than questions ever could. "The place is nice," Sarah chimed in from the doorway, not even brave enough to sit at the table. "They have activities, medical staff. You'll make friends." Friends? Like I was being sent to summer camp instead of being discarded like old furniture. I looked at my son's face, searching for any trace of the boy who used to beg me to teach him how to use my tools, who said he wanted to be just like me when he grew up. That boy was gone, replaced by a stranger in a suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. "When?" I asked simply. "We were thinking next month," Michael said, relief flooding his features. He'd expected a fight. "We'll help you pack, sort through your things." Sort through my things. Divide up the spoils, more likely. I nodded slowly, letting them think they'd won. "I suppose it's time." That night, after they left, I sat in my workshop running my hands over tools that had built not just houses but an empire. These hands had laid the foundation for 3 commercial properties that generated more monthly income than Michael made in a year. But he didn't know that. I'd kept my success quiet, living modestly, wanting to see who loved me for me, not for what I could leave behind. The phone rang at 11 p.m. Sarah. She must have pocket-dialed me because I could hear everything. "Can you believe he just agreed?" She was laughing. "I thought we'd have to fight him for months." "The old fool's finally accepting reality." Michael's voice came through clearly. "Once he's in the home, we can start liquidating. The tool collection alone is worth a fortune." "Emma's already planning her walk-in closet in his room," Sarah giggled. "She measured it yesterday while he was napping." My granddaughter. My 16-year-old granddaughter, who I'd saved college funds for since the day she was born. She was measuring my room like I was already dead. But that wasn't the worst thing I heard that night. "The property's downtown," Michael continued. "I had a friend at the assessor's office check. Dad doesn't own anything except this house. He's been lying about having rental properties for years, trying to seem important." "Pathetic," Sarah agreed. "But the house and his accounts should still net us close to $800,000 after we sell everything. The power of attorney papers are ready. Once he's confused and medicated in the home, he'll sign anything." They went on for another 20 minutes, planning the dismantling of my life. I recorded every word. When the call finally ended, I sat in the darkness of my workshop, not moving, barely breathing. The betrayal wasn't just about money. It was about the complete erasure of my dignity, my lifetime of work, my very existence. I thought about Margaret, my wife, gone 5 years now. 6 months before she died, she'd pulled me close and whispered, "Michael's changed, Jim. The money's changed him. Promise me you'll protect yourself." I dismissed her concerns then. A mother's love can see clearly, but a father's pride is often blind. Now, sitting in the dark, I finally understood what she'd seen. The next morning, I started my performance. I shuffled a little more when I walked. I repeated questions I'd already asked. I left newspapers in odd places, and I watched my son's eyes light up with satisfaction each time he thought my mind was slipping. "Dad, you already asked about dinner," Michael would say with fake concern. "Did I? Oh, sorry, son." Sarah started coming over more frequently, always when she thought I was napping. I'd hear her in my office going through papers. She found bank statements for my checking account showing a modest balance. She never found the documents for the trust that held my real assets. Those were with Robert Chen, my lawyer, and the only person I trusted anymore. 3 weeks into my performance, I made a mistake. I'd left my reading glasses on top of a financial magazine, the kind I'd supposedly become too confused to understand. Sarah noticed. "Michael, your father's been reading about estate planning," she said that evening, holding up the magazine like evidence. So, Michael barely looked up from his phone. So maybe he's not as confused as he seems. That's when Michael's mask slipped completely. He stood up, walked over to me, and put his hand on my shoulder. The grip was too firm, almost threatening. "Dad, you're not trying to hide assets from us, are you? That would be terrible for everyone. The state could take everything if you're not careful." I looked up at him with practiced confusion. "Assets? What assets? You said I don't have much, didn't you?" But I knew then that I had to accelerate my timeline. They were getting suspicious, and desperate people do desperate things. The next day, I called Robert Chen. "It's time," I said. "Are you sure, Jim? Once we do this, there's no going back." "My family already crossed that line, Robert. I'm just following them over." That afternoon, I sat in Robert's office signing documents that would change everything. The irrevocable trust was already in place, had been for years. But now, I was adding specific instructions. The house would remain in the trust with me as sole beneficiary until death. After that, it would go to Martha, my daughter, who'd been exiled from the family for marrying a mechanic instead of a lawyer. Sweet Martha, who still sent me birthday cards through Robert because Sarah sent back any mail from her. "What about Michael?" Robert asked. $1, I said, "so he can't contest it." "And David." "David, my younger son who lived in Seattle, who hadn't called in 2 years. I need to know why he disappeared first." Robert pulled out a folder. "I did some investigating as you asked." He showed me returned letters, emails bounced back, phone records. "Sarah's been intercepting everything. She told David you were angry about him moving away. Told him you'd written him out of the will." My chest tightened. David had been trying to reach me. My quiet, sensitive son who'd moved for his wife's cancer treatment, who'd needed his father's support, had been told I'd abandoned him. "Include David equally with Martha," I said quietly, "and document everything Sarah's done." "What about the rental properties?" I almost smiled. The 3 commercial buildings downtown that Michael thought didn't exist. They generated $18,000 a month in rental income, all going into a trust Michael had never heard of. Those stay in the separate trust. Martha and David can decide what to do with them when I'm gone. "And Emma?" "My granddaughter. The child I'd loved, who was now measuring my room for closet space. She gets nothing until she's 25. And only then if she writes me a genuine letter of apology that Robert you determine is sincere, not her parents. Her." That evening, I continued my charade at home. Michael and Sarah had invited themselves to dinner, bringing Chinese takeout like they were doing me a favor. "Dad, we found a nice place for you," Sarah announced, pulling out glossy brochures. "Sunset Manor. It has excellent reviews." I'd already researched Sunset Manor. It had violations for understaffing, complaints about medication errors, and a suspicious number of residents who died within their first year. It was chosen for one reason: it was cheap. "Looks nice," I said, playing with my food. "We can visit next week," Michael added, "just to look around." Emma walked in then, talking on her phone. "Yeah, Grandpa's moving out soon. I'm getting his whole room. It's gonna be sick." She didn't even look at me. I was already furniture to her, something to be moved out before the remodel. "Emma?" I called out. She turned, annoyed. "I want you to have something." I pulled out my father's pocket watch, the one she'd always admired. "This was your great-grandfather's." She took it, confused. "But you said I could have it when you died." "Plans change," I said simply. Sarah's eyes narrowed. She sensed something but couldn't place it. "That's sweet, Dad," she said carefully. But maybe you should hold on to family heirlooms for now. Why? You're putting me in a home. Might as well distribute things now while I can still remember who should get what. The room went silent. Michael cleared his throat. We're not putting you anywhere, Dad. You're choosing to go, remember, for your health. Of course I agreed. My choice entirely. But that wasn't the worst part of that dinner. After they thought I'd gone to bed, I heard them in the living room. Michael was on the phone with someone. Yes, Dr. Patterson. My father is showing clear signs of dementia, confusion, forgetfulness, paranoia about his assets. We're concerned about his ability to make financial decisions. Dr. Patterson, Michael's golf buddy who'd lost his license twice for overprescribing. They were building a paper trail to declare me incompetent. How soon can you see him? Michael continued. We need documentation before the move to the facility. I recorded it all from the top of the stairs, my phone capturing every word. The next morning I played sick to avoid the surprise doctor's visit Michael had arranged. Instead, I went to my real doctor, Dr. Williams, who'd been treating me for 15 years. Jim, your cognitive tests are perfect, Dr. Williams said after a thorough examination. Your blood work shows no signs of any medication issues. Why are you concerned? I showed him the recordings. His face went pale. This is elder abuse, Jim. We need to report this. Not yet, I said. I need more evidence, but I need you to document everything. Every test, every result, date and time, stamp it all. Jim, they're trying to medicate you without your consent. That's assault. I know. That's why I've been making my own coffee and buying my own food, but I need you to test me weekly. Build a medical record that shows I'm competent. Dr. Williams agreed, but I could see the worry in his eyes. Be careful, Jim. Desperate people do desperate things, I finished. I know. The next few days were a careful dance. I had to appear compliant while secretly dismantling my life in ways they couldn't trace. I sold my tool collection to my friend Marcus, with a handshake agreement that I could buy it back later. The money went into an account Sarah didn't know existed. Jim, you sure about this? Marcus asked, looking at the tools that had built half the commercial district downtown. They're safer with you than with me right now, I said. Your boy still doesn't know about the properties. He thinks I'm a failed contractor living off Social Security. Marcus shook his head. Why'd you never tell him? I wanted him to love me for being his father, not his bank account. Guess I got my answer. The nursing home visit was scheduled for Thursday. Wednesday night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through my house, touching walls I'd plastered, running my hands over door frames I'd carved. This wasn't just a house, it was my life's work, my love letter to Margaret, the place where my children had taken their first steps. And they couldn't wait to sell it. Thursday morning arrived gray and drizzling, fitting weather for what felt like a funeral, my own. Michael picked me up in his BMW, the one I'd helped him buy when he'd claimed he needed it for his business. Ready, Dad? He was practically bouncing with excitement. As ready as one can be, I said, clutching a small bag with some clothes. Let him think I was already packing. Sarah met us at Sunset Manor. The smell hit me first. Industrial disinfectant trying to mask something worse. Despair, maybe, or just the scent of forgotten lives. The receptionist gave us a practiced smile, the kind that never reached her eyes. Mr. Henderson, we're so excited to potentially welcome you to our family. Family. That word had lost all meaning. The tour was a nightmare wrapped in cheerful lies. Rooms the size of closets, beds that looked like hospital equipment, residents sitting in wheelchairs staring at nothing, probably over-medicated into compliance. This is our activity room, the guide chirped, showing us a space with a broken television and puzzles with missing pieces. I caught the eye of one resident, a man about my age. He mouthed one word, run. Dad, look, they have a workshop, Michael said, pointing to a locked room with a few rusty tools visible through the window. You could still do your hobby. Hobby. 40 years of master craftsmanship reduced to a hobby. The monthly cost is very reasonable, Sarah was saying to the administrator, already negotiating my life away. What about shared rooms? To reduce the expense? They were haggling over my dignity like it was a used car. I excused myself to use the restroom and found myself in a hallway with another resident. He was wearing a suit that had once been expensive, now shabby. "You're new," he said. It wasn't a question. "Just looking," I replied. "I was just looking too." That was 3 years ago. Harold Patterson. I was a judge. Jim Henderson, contractor. Get out while you can, Jim. Once you're in, they take everything. Power of attorney, assets, dignity. My son got it all. Haven't seen him in 2 years. But surely you could fight. With what money? From in here? They control your medication, your communication, everything. I tried to call a lawyer once. They said I was having an episode, increased my meds. I lost 3 days. But that wasn't even the worst thing, Harold told me. You see that woman over there? He pointed to a frail lady in a wheelchair. She owned half of downtown. Her daughter convinced her to sign over power of attorney just in case. She's been here 5 years. The daughter sold everything. Lives in Florida now. Sends a card at Christmas. Sometimes. I felt sick. This wasn't a care facility, it was a storage unit for the inconvenient. "Dad?" Michael found me. "We're ready to do paperwork." I followed him back to the administrator's office. Sarah had already filled out most of the forms. They just needed my signature. "This is just preliminary," Michael assured me. "Nothing binding." I pretended to read, letting my hand shake slightly. "Here, here, and here." Sarah pointed eagerly. I signed, but I signed James Henderson, Jr., instead of my legal name, James Henderson, Sr. A small detail they wouldn't notice until it was too late. The administrator, eager for the commission, didn't check carefully. "Wonderful. We can have a room ready by next week." She beamed. "Perfect," Michael said. "We'll have Dad moved in by Friday." Friday. 7 days to finish destroying my life and rebuilding it on my terms. That night I sat in my workshop at 3 a.m. The space was nearly empty now. My tools safe with Marcus. I pulled out the photo of Margaret. I kept hidden behind the workbench. "You were right, my love. You were always right." I thought about the life we'd built together. Starting with nothing, working 18-hour days, saving every penny. Margaret keeping the books while I swung hammers, both of us dreaming of the family we'd build, the legacy we'd leave. "Michael loves money more than memories," she'd said during her last week when the cancer had taken everything but her clarity. "Promise me you'll protect yourself, Jim." "From our own son?" I'd asked. "Especially from our son." I'd held her hand and promised, thinking it was the morphine talking. Now I sat in my empty workshop, finally understanding. She'd seen what I'd refused to see, that somewhere along the way, we'd raised a stranger. The next morning I met Robert at his office. "I need to move faster," I said. "They're getting aggressive." "What do you need?" "Transfer the liquid assets today. All of them. Set up the eviction papers for the house. But don't file them yet. And I need you to contact Martha and David. It's time they knew the truth." "Jim, once you pull this trigger—" "They've already pulled it, Robert. I'm just returning fire." That afternoon I went to the bank. The teller, Jennifer, had known me for 20 years. "Mr. Henderson, how can I help you today?" "I need to make some withdrawals," I said, sliding her the withdrawal slips Robert had prepared. Her eyes widened at the amounts. "Mr. Henderson, this is substantial. Is everything all right?" "Everything's perfect, Jennifer. Just restructuring some investments." She processed the transactions, but I could see her concern. "Mr. Henderson, is anyone pressuring you to do this?" I smiled sadly. "No one's pressuring me to protect myself, Jennifer. That's a choice I should have made years ago." The money moved into accounts Michael and Sarah couldn't touch. Years of careful saving, investing, and building, all of it now hidden from the vultures circling my corpse. That evening Michael came by alone. He seemed nervous, agitated. "Dad, we need to talk about your finances." "What about them?" "I've been trying to help you organize things, but some of your accounts seem off." I played confused. "I don't understand." "Money's missing, Dad. Large amounts. Did someone take advantage of you? Maybe someone called claiming to be from the IRS?" The irony of him asking if someone was taking advantage of me almost made me laugh. "I don't remember any calls." "Dad, this is serious. We need to go to the bank tomorrow, figure out what happened." "All right, son, if you think it's best." He relaxed slightly, thinking he was still in control. "And Dad, maybe it's time we discussed power of attorney, just to protect you from scams." "Maybe you're right," I agreed, knowing the papers he wanted me to sign would be worthless. You can't give power of attorney over assets that no longer exist in your name. That night I couldn't eat. The stress was getting to me, but not in the way they hoped. I wasn't breaking down. I was hardening, like steel in a forge. Every betrayal, every lie, every moment of cruelty was tempering me into something they wouldn't recognize. I made one phone call that night. To Martha. Robert had given her my new secret phone number. "Dad?" Her voice broke on the word. "Is it really you?" "It's me, sweetheart. They said you hated me, that you never wanted to speak to me again after I married Tom. They lied about a lot of things, Martha. But I need you to listen carefully." I told her everything. The plan, the betrayal, the truth about the family fortune she never knew existed. She cried. I hadn't heard my daughter cry since she was 10 and broke her arm falling from the tree in our backyard. "Why didn't you tell me about the money, Dad?" "Because you never asked for it. You loved me without it. That's how I knew you really loved me." "What about David?" "Sarah's been intercepting his calls for 2 years. He thinks I abandoned him." "Oh, Dad, how could they?" "Greed makes monsters of men, sweetheart, and women." The next day was Wednesday. 2 days before my supposed move to Sunset Manor, Michael and Sarah came over early, ready to start packing my life into boxes. They'd brought Emma to help, or more likely to start claiming what she wanted. "Grandpa, can I have your record player?" Emma asked, not even pretending to care about my well-being anymore. "It's all yours," I said, watching her carry away the player Margaret and I had danced to on our 40th anniversary. Sarah was in my bedroom, going through Margaret's jewelry box. The real jewelry was in a safety deposit box she didn't know about, but she was pawing through the costume pieces Margaret wore daily, the ones that meant everything to me. "This is all junk," she muttered to Michael. "Mom loved that junk," I said from the doorway. She didn't even have the grace to look embarrassed. "I'm sure she did, Dad. We'll keep the pieces with sentimental value." They worked through my house like locusts, tagging items for sale, for keeping, for trash. My life sorted into 3 piles by people who couldn't sort truth from lies. "Dad," Michael said, holding up a folder, "these look like property deeds." My heart stopped. Had I missed something? He opened them and laughed. "These are from properties you built, not owned." God, you really have been confused, haven't you? Thinking you owned half of downtown. The deeds were indeed from properties I'd built. What he didn't know was that I'd been smart enough to take partial ownership instead of full payment on several projects. The real deeds were with Robert, safe from their greed. "I built good buildings," I said simply. "You did, Dad, but building and owning are different things." If only he knew. Thursday came like a sentencing date. Tomorrow they planned to move me to Sunset Manor. Tonight was my last night in my home, or so they thought. I sat in my empty workshop recording one final message on my phone. Not for them, but for me. A reminder of why I was doing this. My name is James Henderson Sr. I am 72 years old. Of sound mind and body, despite what my son and daughter-in-law are telling people. Tomorrow they plan to put me in a nursing home so they can steal my assets. They don't know I've already protected everything. They don't know that I know about their plans to drug me, to declare me incompetent, to take everything Margaret and I built. This recording is my insurance and my goodbye to the man who let this happen. Tomorrow I become someone else. Someone who fights back. I saved the recording to the cloud, with copies sent to Robert and Dr. Williams. That night, I didn't sleep. I walked through my house one last time, saying goodbye to each room. The kitchen where Margaret taught our children to cook, the living room where we celebrated 30 Christmases, the bedroom where she took her last breath, holding my hand. At 3 a.m. my phone rang, unknown number. Dad. It was David's voice, broken and desperate. Dad, please don't hang up. I know you hate me, but I need to know you're okay. Sarah said you're going into a home. Dad, I'm sorry for whatever I did. Please, just... David, I interrupted. Sarah lied. I never hated you. I've been trying to reach you for 2 years. Silence, then sobbing. My strong, quiet son was sobbing. Robert Chen sent me everything. He managed. The letters. The blocked calls. Dad, I'm getting on a plane. Don't let them put you in that place. It's too late to stop it, son. But it's not too late for justice. Stay where you are. Let this play out. Robert will contact you when it's time. Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have tried harder. I should have known. You couldn't have known. They're very good at what they do. But David, they're about to learn I'm better. Friday morning dawned bright and cold. Michael arrived at 8 a.m. sharp, eager to escort me to my new prison. He'd brought a small moving truck for the few possessions they were allowing me to take. Ready, Dad? He was practically glowing. I need a moment, I said, standing in the doorway, to say goodbye. Of course, he said, checking his watch. But we have a noon appointment. I walked through the house one more time, this time leaving something in each room. In the kitchen, an envelope marked open immediately. In the living room, another envelope, legal documents inside. In the master bedroom, a third. The truth about Dad. What are you doing? Sarah asked, suspicious as always. Leaving notes for myself, I said sadly, in case I'm allowed to visit and forget where things are. She rolled her eyes at Michael, the confused old man leaving himself breadcrumbs. Let's go, Dad, Michael said, taking my arm a bit too firmly. I pulled away. I can walk to my own funeral, son. He flinched at the word funeral, but said nothing. The drive to Sunset Manor was silent except for Sarah's chatter about their renovation plans. We're thinking of knocking out the workshop wall, extending the kitchen. Open concept is so popular now. It's a load-bearing wall, I said quietly. You remove it, the house falls down. We'll have professionals look at it, Dad, Michael said dismissively. Like you had professionals look at my mental state? I asked. The car went silent. Sarah turned to stare at me. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said, looking out the window. Just the ramblings of a confused old man. We arrived at Sunset Manor. My stomach turned at the smell, the same industrial bleach and despair. Harold was in the lobby, slumped in his wheelchair. He looked up as we passed, and I saw recognition in his eyes. Another lamb to the slaughter. The administrator was all smiles and efficiency. Mr. Henderson, we're so excited to have you join our family. Your room is ready. Room 247. A number, not a home. 10 by 12 feet of space to contain a lifetime. A single bed, a small dresser, a chair by the window overlooking the parking lot. This is where they expected me to die. It's perfect, Michael said, setting down my suitcase. You'll be so comfortable here, Dad. The bathroom's shared, the administrator explained. But there's a call button if you need assistance. Assistance to maintain basic dignity. We'll let you get settled, Sarah said, already backing toward the door. We'll visit soon. Of course you will, I said. Michael paused at the door. For a moment, just a moment, I saw something in his eyes. Guilt, regret, but then it was gone, replaced by relief. Bye, Dad. This is for the best. They left me there, In that tiny room that smelled like industrial cleaning supplies and broken dreams. I sat on the bed, testing the thin mattress, and pulled out my phone. One text to Robert. They've left. Begin. 30 minutes later, Michael called. His voice was panicked. Dad, what did you do? What do you mean, son? The envelopes. The house. What did you do? I left you some reading material. Educational, you might say. You can't evict us from our own home. Your home? Check the deed, Michael. Check it carefully. I heard papers rustling. Sarah's voice rising in the background. This is impossible, Michael said. You're mentally incompetent. Any legal documents you signed are invalid. Am I? Check with Dr. Williams. I've been seeing him weekly. Full cognitive testing. All documented. Would you like to see the results? Dr. Patterson said. Dr. Patterson lost his license yesterday. Funny thing about illegally prescribing medications and falsifying medical documents, the medical board takes that seriously. Silence. Then Sarah's voice, shrill. You recorded us? Every word, dear daughter-in-law. Every cruel word, every scheme, every plan to drug me and steal my assets. The police particularly enjoyed the part where you discussed forging my signature. We're your family, Michael shouted. No, I said calmly. Family doesn't plot to destroy each other. You're just people I used to know. Where will we go? Sarah's panic was real now. I don't know. And I don't care. You have 30 days. I suggest you use them wisely. Dad, please. I hung up. Then I stood, picked up my suitcase, and walked to the administrator's office. I'm checking out, I announced. But you just arrived. Is something wrong with the room? Everything's wrong with this place, I said. But mostly, I'm not staying because I don't have to. My mental capacity is perfectly fine. As my doctor will confirm, the admission papers were signed under duress and with a false name. Check them carefully. She pulled out the papers, her face paling. This says James Henderson, Jr. That's not me. I'm Senior. Junior doesn't exist. You admitted a ghost, and ghosts don't pay bills. I walked out of Sunset Manor past Harold, who gave me a small salute, past the reception desk into the sunlight. Marcus was waiting in his truck, engine running. How'd it go? He asked, as I climbed in. They left me there for exactly 43 minutes before they realized what I'd done. Your tools are in the back. Where to? My apartment. The one they never knew I had. The apartment was small but clean, in a building I'd bought 20 years ago as an investment. Top floor, corner unit, with a view of the city I'd helped build. I'd been slowly furnishing it for months, preparing for this day. My phone rang constantly. Michael, Sarah, Emma, numbers I didn't recognize. I turned it off and made myself a cup of tea with the kettle Margaret had given me for our first anniversary, the one Sarah had deemed worthless. That evening, Robert called on the landline I'd installed. They've been served, he said. Eviction papers and restraining orders. Sarah's been arrested for mail fraud. She's out on bail, but the federal charges are serious. And Michael? Desperately trying to find you. He's also been calling every bank in the state, trying to locate your assets. Let him look. He won't find anything under my name. Jim, David's here. He wants to see you. I closed my eyes. Send him over. An hour later, my younger son stood at my door. He looked older, grayed by 2 years of believing his father hated him. We stood there, neither of us speaking, until he broke down. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I pulled him into a hug. The first in 2 years. You have nothing to apologize for. You were lied to, manipulated. We both were. We talked until dawn. About his wife's cancer, in remission now. About his children who thought their grandfather had abandoned them. About the cruelty of Sarah's lies and Michael's greed. Why didn't you tell us about the money, Dad? The properties? Because I wanted to be loved for being your father, not your bank account. With you and Martha, I got that. With Michael, he chose wrong. David finished. He chose, period. That's what hurts most. It was a choice. 6 months passed. The eviction went through. Michael and Sarah had to sell everything they owned to pay legal fees. Sarah pled guilty to mail fraud and got probation and community service. Their marriage imploded when Michael discovered Sarah had been having an affair with his business partner, planning to leave him once they'd secured my assets. Emma sent me a letter on her 17th birthday. "Grandpa, I'm sorry. Mom and Dad said you were losing your mind, that we were helping you. I didn't know. I should have known. The watch you gave me was great-grandpa's, and I understand now why you gave it to me then. You were saying goodbye. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know I'm not them. I'm getting a job saving for college myself. Maybe someday you'll let me earn the right to be your granddaughter again." I didn't respond. Some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt with words alone. The court case made the news. Elderly millionaire exposes children's elder abuse plot. The headlines were sensational, but the truth was worse. During the trial, everything came out. The drugging attempts, the forged documents, the systematic isolation from David and Martha. Michael took the stand, still trying to play the victim. "He's vindictive," he told the judge. "He planned this to hurt us." The prosecutor asked one question. "Did you or did you not plan to put your father in a nursing home to access his assets?" Michael's lawyer advised him to plead the fifth. After the trial, I sat with Martha and David in my apartment. My real family, the ones who loved me without conditions. "What now, Dad?" Martha asked. "Now I live. Actually live, not just exist. I've spent so long protecting myself from vultures that I forgot to fly." "The properties," David asked, "will go to you and Martha when I'm gone. But not before. I've learned that lesson." "We don't want your money, Dad," Martha said. "I know, that's why you'll get it." A year later I was teaching Martha's son Tommy woodworking in a new workshop I'd set up. The boy had natural talent and actual interest, unlike Michael, who'd always seen my work as beneath him. "Grandpa Jim," Tommy asked, "why did Uncle Michael try to hurt you? How do you explain greed to a 10-year-old? How do you explain that sometimes the people who should love you most become your greatest threats?" "Sometimes, Tommy, people lose their way. They start valuing things more than people. When that happens, they're capable of anything." "That's sad." "Yes," I agreed, running my hand along a piece of oak. Michael found me eventually. Not at my apartment, but at Margaret's grave, where I went every Sunday. He stood at a distance, waiting. I finally waved him over. "Dad," he started. "Don't," I said. "Whatever you're going to say, don't. You made your choice. Live with it." "I lost everything." "No, son. You threw everything away. There's a difference. Can you ever forgive me?" I looked at Margaret's headstone, remembering her warning, her wisdom, her love. "Forgiveness isn't mine to give. It's yours to earn, and you haven't even started trying." "How do I start?" "By leaving me alone, by becoming a better person without expecting a reward, by understanding that some things, once broken, stay broken." He stood there, diminished, no longer the confident man who'd tried to warehouse his father. "I know," I said. "That's what makes this so much worse." He left. And I haven't seen him since. I hear things, occasionally. He works at a hardware store now. His business career destroyed by the scandal. Sarah disappeared entirely. Emma graduated high school and sent me an invitation. I didn't go, but I sent a card with no money, just words. "Make better choices than your parents." Now I'm 77, sitting in my workshop with Tommy, teaching him to build rather than destroy. David visits weekly with his family. Martha has Sunday dinners with me. I have a family again, smaller but real. The fortune I protected isn't about money. It never was. It's about dignity, respect, and the right to live your final years surrounded by love, not greed. Michael and Sarah thought they were taking everything from me. Instead, they revealed everything to me. They showed me who truly loved me, and who was just waiting for me to die. I won this war not because I was smarter or richer. I won because I was patient. I let them reveal themselves, document their own cruelty, hang themselves with their own rope. The greatest revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's letting them destroy themselves while you protect what really matters. Sometimes, late at night, I think about Harold, still trapped in Sunset Manor. I've tried to help him legally, but his case is complicated. His son was smarter than Michael, more careful with the paperwork, but I visit him monthly, bring him real food, remind him he's not forgotten. It's a small kindness, but sometimes small kindnesses are all we have. The money, the properties, the material success, none of it matters compared to the Sunday dinners with Martha, the woodworking lessons with Tommy, the phone calls with David. These are my real assets, the only ones that appreciate over time. Margaret was right, as she always was. She saw what I refused to see, knew what I refused to know, but she also gave me the strength to fight when the time came. Every decision I made, every document I signed, every trap I set, it was all her voice in my head saying, "Protect yourself, Jim." I did, my love. I protected myself, but more importantly, I protected our legacy, not the money, but the truth of who we were, what we built, and what real love looks like. The workshop is quiet now, except for the sound of sandpaper on wood. Tommy's young hands are learning what Michael's rejected, that there's honor in building, dignity in creating, and that the greatest inheritance isn't money but wisdom. "Grandpa Jim," Tommy asks, "will you teach me to build a house someday?" "Yes," I say, watching him work. "But first, I'll teach you to build character, because without that, all the houses in the world won't make you a home." He nods, not fully understanding yet, but he will. And when he does, he'll know that his grandfather wasn't just a builder of buildings but a defender of dignity, a protector of truth, and a man who refused to go quietly into anyone's good night. They wanted me gone because they thought I was worthless. But worth isn't measured in dollars or property deeds. It's measured in the love you leave behind and the dignity you maintain when everyone tries to take it from you. I didn't win because I kept my money. I won because I kept my soul, and in the end that's all any of us really own. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share your thoughts about Jim's journey in the comments below. For more stories of justice and redemption, click on the video on your left.